Right, so we're recording. So welcome to Lena Thompson. She's going to talk to us about human design, which is really interesting. I've heard about human design now from 3 or 4 different people, and everybody has their own version. So it's always worth listening to it again and again and again, whoever is delivering, because there's so many different aspects to work at this from. I'm sure Lena will bring something again that you won't have heard about, because it's like a massive subject. Some of you hopefully will manage to download your body graph just to get a general idea of what your human design is, so that you can understand a bit more of what Lena's telling you about. If you haven't, you can download it after and then watch the replay. It's really fascinating. As I say, it's one of those topics that just can go on and on and on and on and on. You can have a reading probably every day about something different. So on that note, I will pass you over to somebody who's much more expert. Over to you, Lena.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. So my name is Lena Thompson. And I just have to warn you guys, I was at a dentist 2 hours ago and they injected my face. So if I start drooling, I don't normally do that. Okay, so just excuse me. I'll try not to. Anyways, we're not here to talk about my drools. Today, we're going to be talking about intuition, what it means and how we can become more intuitive so we can make more powerful decisions, get powerful results in our lives, in our careers, and in our business. And we are looking at it through the lens of human design. So what I actually realized on my journey, that the bigger our questions and bigger answers we seek, the more powerful decisions you really need to make. And often our logical mind just does not stretch us that far. So we really have a choice here. We can either figure things out, get into this overthinking, logical burnout, or we can tap into that creative power to connect to the new potential, find answers, and really find clarity on what we should be doing and how we should be responding. And we all have like different strategies in our lives, in our business, in our jobs, how we sell, how we create offers, how we communicate with each other, with our clients, with our colleagues. But when it comes to making right decisions that are correct for you, it's all about power and self-trust. And in human design, it is all about your inner authority. So inner authority in human design is basically the way the universe is speaking to you. It's how we receive that inner guidance, inner knowingness, and how your soul is guiding you. And the thing is, we always guided towards our purpose, but often we just simply cannot receive this guidance because we are too stuck in our heads and we are too busy doing things. So today I really want to show you how you can begin to get out of your head and more into your body, to stop that overthinking, mental burnout, and really tap into your intuition, into your inner knowingness. So there is like a little quote I read somewhere a few days ago. I just came across it and I wanted to share it with you. Productivity is not about how much you can accomplish, but rather how you can optimize your energy to achieve your goals. And this is it's just about that mind shift really that needs to happen, that switch that needs to happen within us, that when we realize that it's not our self-worth and the value we provide is not really tied to a certain number and how much we do, but it's more about that energetic alignment and who we are being. So when human design, it's a spiritual and it's scientific tool. And guys, just pop in a chat if you ever heard of human design. So I know if you're brand new or, you come across it before, it just would really help me. So human design is a spiritual and scientific tool that shows you how you use and how you receive energy, how you make decisions, and how you communicate in the most natural way to you. It helps you really understand how you work at your best, reduce stress and prevent burnout and make powerful decisions that are yours. So my favorite really definition of human design, it helps you to remember who you are not. So it's basically like, it's like your energetic blueprint, your roadmap to self-understanding and decision-making and correct use of energy according to your energy type. type. So there are 5 energy types in human design, and every energy type, they really use the energy in a different way, and they also absorb it in a different way. And each type has its own strategy. And I will share slides in a minute, and I will explain to you what they are. So basically, it is once you understand your energy type, you will be able to understand how you naturally make decisions, where you're prone to conditioning. And each type has its own strategy, which basically shows how you show up in the world, how you show up in your life. And the more you live according to your strategy, the more in alignment you live with yourself, really. So before I share the slides, do you know which energy type you are? Have you got this here? Okay, so cool. There's a lot of new people about human design. So if anybody knows the energy type, okay, do you want to share with us, Karen? Yes. Okay, if you know your energy type, just pop in there. So we've got generator, we've got projector, we've got manifestor. Okay, fab. I'm also generator. Okay, let me share my screen here. And then we'll dive into them. So can everyone see it? Fab. Okay. So as I said, there are 5 different energy types, and what it is just how we use the energy, because energy is literally, it's like our new currency, because when we don't have no energy, there is nothing we can do. And I had 3 burnouts this year, and I completely understand now when they say energy is your new currency. So in human design, there are 5 different energy types. The generator and manager, and it's pretty much, well, it's kind of a one type, but they separated into 2 because manifesting generator is a mixture of a generator and a manifestor. So generators, they make actually majority of population, manifesting generators and generators. They have this life force, they've got this drive because they always have a defined sacral energy center. They're the ones who design to work. So they can actually get up and go and do pretty much anything in life. They're the builders and the workforce of society. And even though it's probably the only energy type who has consistent supply of energy, they can actually burn out. And the time they burn out is when they're not living in their joy, when they're not doing things that light them up. Because with a generator, unlike with other energy types, is they cultivated energy from within them. And the way they cultivated energy is through joy, through pleasure, through fun, through excitement. And that's what gives sacral that energetic burst, I guess. They have a very open and attractive aura. And when they're in the joy, when they're living as themselves, they naturally magnetize and attract people into their life. But when they're not in the joy, they collapse. The energy field around them literally shrinks and actually becomes repellent. So especially if if you've got a spouse or you're living with somebody who's a non-generator, it's quite interesting the way they pick up your energy. And in the meantime, you think, well, I'm just having a bad day, but it actually affects them in so many more levels, because you've got as a generator, you've got such a strong aura, such strong energy around you. The thing is with generators is they can really easily get frustrated, and that's their not self theme. So what makes them frustrated is their strategy, the way they design to really navigate through life. So their strategy is to respond, is to wait to respond. And they always responding. You don't just sit there and waiting for something to happen. You're responding to everything. For example, you want to go on a holiday, and there comes up somebody maybe phones you, or you read something in the newspaper or an article. So you're responding to things around you. And once you respond to something, that's when you follow your body, never your mind, but you follow the body, you follow the pull, knowing whether it is or not right thing for you. But often, and especially when it comes to bigger things, like creating a business, taking big decision, maybe looking for a job, they often feel there's nothing to respond to. And they get stuck on this plateau, and they sit there and they sit there. And generators are conditioned to initiate, they're conditioned to take action. When they do that, they may get even more frustrated, because the more action they take and the more they initiate, the more energy they use. And in fact, it's not their strategy. So they won't be heard and they won't be seen most of the time. So they sit on this plateau waiting for something to happen, and they get really frustrated. And often they quit, and then they start again and again and again. So as a generator, it's just important to understand that you will get frustrated. You will hit those times when you're just sitting there on a plateau and waiting for happen. And that's natural. It means it's like you're mastering, you're moving to the next level of growth. So when they are happy, when they're living in the life of joy and satisfaction, their signature is satisfaction. And that's when they literally radiate that aura around them. So with manifesting generators, it's also really similar to generators, but they have also defined throat. So they'll have a defined sacral and a defined throat. And their strategy, their way to make decision and move through life is to respond and to inform. So what that means is, unlike generators, manifesting generators, they are multi-passionate. They move fast. And they can actually work on so many different things at once. Whereas with generator, it's usually mastery of a lifetime. Maybe you master one thing, then you move to another one. With generators, they're like fast. And if you've got like a child who's a manifesting generator, one day they might want to play piano, next day it's soccer, third day it's a flute, and they should be allowed to explore it. They should be allowed to try all of these things. It's good for them. So, but because they move so fast, they can simply lose other people and leave them behind. So when they have this pull to go and do something, they just need to literally pause and inform others who are involved in their little circle, in the decision, whoever's going to be affected by the initiation, they need to inform them and then go and do something. So it's important that informing is really, really important for them. Then we get to manifestors, and manifestors, they are about 7 to 9% of people population now. They actually used to be those pharaohs, the kings and queens who ruled the world and who wanted to initiate, who wanted to build things, to start things, but not to finish them. So they're also very multi-passionate, and they're also very fast, and they design here really like to be our almost like leaders, like up at the top, and they're like, I will start this, I will start this, I will start that, and then they withdraw, and then generators come and pretty much finish it, and maybe some projectors also. So with manifestors, they also absolutely must start multiple things at once and not necessarily finish them. And if you think how we brought up, it's like if you start something, you must finish, no matter what you do. And there's a great level of awareness that happens here. And, if you are with your partner who's a manifestor, or your kids, like my daughter's a manifestor, I don't really make her finish anything unless it's like she's made a massive mess, so understanding that, it's just really important how you then begin to communicate with different energy types. So whereas generators, they have a very open, very attractive aura, manifestors aura, it's actually in human design, they say it's repelling, but it's not really repelling. It's more of a kind of closed, very selective aura. So you're kind of either with them or you're not with them. And because they move so fast, they have to inform, because if they don't inform, people will just get on the way trying to help them, and manifestors don't really need help, and they're not very good at asking for support. So if people get on the way, all they're doing, they're actually slowing them down and causing them to get angry. And when manifestors are angry, I've got one little one upstairs, it's like the whole house pretty much shakes. So you definitely don't want to get on the way. And obviously for manifestors, it's important to realize, because they move so fast and not everybody can keep up with them, they have to inform before initiating. And actually, interestingly enough, they are the only type out of 5 who are actually designed to initiate. So if you think, when you have your business, we all conditioned that we need to reach out, initiate, take massive actions, force and push. But all we do is we just burn out, or we just get frustrated or disappointed. So unless you're a manifestor, your strategy is not to initiate. Then we get projectors. So projectors, they are about 20% of population, and they are relatively new energy type. We only came about in 1781. And they are the visionaries, they're the guides, and they're the leaders. They are here to really to see in others all the potentials that others often can't see in themselves, which makes them, as I said, amazing leaders and amazing visionaries. But the problem is, because they can see it so well in you and they really want to help, they can almost like butt in and start giving their advice, not disrespect, Suzanne, and giving their advice when they're not being invited to do so. So they can appear, like as know-it-all, or even like, quite forceful in their way. So it's very important for them to follow their strategy and to wait for invitation and to wait for recognition. And recognition is really, really important for them. They need to be recognized for, for something that they do. So like if let's say there is a manager and they've got an employee as a projector or a generator, for projector, that recognition is going to be so much more important than for any other type. Now, they don't have that sacral energy like generators and manifesting generators. So for them, it's really important to rest in between their work. And they're not really designed to work 9 till 5, like in a traditional job. They work best in sprints. So they will go and they will rest, they will integrate, recover, and then they will do the same kind of job that manifest or generator do, but probably a lot faster than them, because when they're on it, they're on it. But in between, they just need to withdraw and rest in between. And then I don't think we've got any reflectors. It's a very, very rare type. I actually only have one friend who's a reflector. And with the reflectors, they've got, if you looked at your charts, you will see that there are 9 centers, 9 energy centers in a chart. And when it's open, that means basically all your open centers, the ones that are not colored in, that's how you give energy out. When you've got centers that are colored in, that's how you receive. So with the reflectors, they don't have any definition. They are completely open. So they're like mirror of our society. They actually mirror, whoever they're with, they will be their complete reflection. So if they hang out with generator, they will have that sacral energy to go and do things. If they hang out with manifestor, they will have the energy to initiate. But because they're absorbing all of that in energy, then they're not really giving anything out. For them, recovery and rest is super, super important. And they're actually not designed to work at all. They're literally just here designed to mirror us. And what's interesting, actually, most of animals are reflectors. I don't know who measured that, but according to human design, animals are reflectors. So it's really, they've got this gift, of this earthy kind of natural connection to the environments. And yeah, I mean, their aura is sampling. So whenever you're with a reflector and the reflector is like unhappy or frustrated, it's probably something within you that they're reflecting to you. So I'm going to just stop sharing for a minute, and I'm just interested to see, do you guys have any questions on energy types? So we've got manifestors. I'll be able to create a chart. If you don't know what time you're born, you can just put like a rough time, because I played with it and I found that more or less, you're still going to be the same energy type. Obviously, you know your date. Some of the centers may change, and also those lines, how they call gates and channels, they may slightly change. So it might be a little bit of a different channel, a different chart, but the type will be the same. I'm a generator. Cool, another generator. Okay, brilliant. Okay. So just quickly to get to this. So basically, when it comes really to knowingness, to intuition and human design, is first of all, we must recognize that we all have that inner knowingness. We all have the potential to connect to something way greater to ourselves, to bypass that physical realm and our physical senses. And intuition is that inner knowingness. It's basically knowing how you can lean and trust your connection to the source and open up yourself to receive this message and guidance. Your human design, every design obviously is very unique, and your design has all of the energetic codes that help you to leap over your belief system, over your conditional logical minds, and also enable you to make those powerful decisions that don't come from your logic, but come from that intuition from within you. So the first thing I really wanted to talk about is our logical minds and our head, how we all conditioned to get stuck in this overthinking burnout, I call it. Always asking yourself, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get the client? How am I going to make the money? How am I going to get this job? And it's over here all the time. An important thing for us to realize, and for those of you who have a chart in front of you, have a look at your head and have a look if it's defined. So if it's got colors or not. Because 70% of people, 70% of population, we don't have it colored in. We don't have a definition. So once again, remember, if it's empty, if it's white, that's how we send out, that's how we receive, energy. And it means we don't just receive it, but we amplify it. So if you have it open and you're standing next to somebody who's got it defined, colored in, you're going to be stuck in a big overthinking pattern, trying to solve out problems, answer questions, generate ideas that are probably not even yours because you're picking up energy of the person next to you. So 70% of us don't actually have that center defined. We don't have consistent energy. So we're not designed to come up with thoughts and ideas and inspiration in a very consistent way, or be logical. You know how your parents, like my parents, told me, be logical, be practical, use your brains, use your logic. And I'm like, what the hell is logic? I can't even hold two thoughts for longer than a second. And another things like, like in a spiritual, in a, I guess, environments, a lot of us are being taught to visualize, like create your future, get into the details about how many bedrooms, how many toilets, the color of your carpets you want to have in your house. And I'm like, I can't do that. And I actually thought something was wrong with my head. Seriously, I thought I was like broken, until I realized I'm just not simply designed to hold onto your thought. It's like we've got a very fluid way of thinking. And when we really get stuck in it, that's when this, that mental burnout really happens, because we keep on asking ourselves how and why. And when you even look at the charts, you will see that there is channels for asking questions, but there is no energy that goes back into your head. Because when we ask the question, the energy goes out and then it goes all the way around us. And then we receive our answers from that environment, from the things around us, from our external life, or from the deep knowingness within us, but certainly not from the head center. And a head center is also a pressure center. So that's why if you've got it open, you're always going to be under tremendous pressure to think and to work through all of the doubts, through all of this confusion, and come up with reasonable answers. And as I mentioned, most of the time, it's not even going to be coming up with the answers to your own questions. If actually you have it defined, and pop it in the chat if you guys have your chart, if you have defined, you can also, you can be expressing that center as a high or as a low frequency, because every single energy center in the chart can be expressed as a high or as a low frequency. So when you express it as a high, kind of high energy, high frequency, it means you're very creative. You've got amazing, inspiring ideas. You like a thought leader, and you can inspire others to get those creative ideas and creative way of thinking. You can help them. But if you're not living it as your, in your highest kind of version of that center, you can actually become manipulative and get people to stuck in that overthinking and over analyzing mode. So for those of you who have the center open, what's really, really important is to go and unstuff your mind. So do everything opposite to what you normally do. Stop watching whatever it is that you're watching and browsing the Google and, observing what everybody else is doing. It's really important just to get out in the nature, go for a walk, quiet, silent meditation, the least noise, the better, because that's how you really begin to get out of your head and start connecting more with your body. So yes, with the open heads, less YouTube, less mentors, less coaching, less information, not all the time, of course, but just make that space in your day to pause everything and to go for a walk without even headphones in your ears, or sit down in silence without guided meditation. Just declutter your minds. So, and the thing is, once you really become aware of how your centers operate, And if you are in a low frequency of each center, then you can really begin to, what in human design is called, to decondition and begin to live out that highest expression in every single energy center, to activate that flow through all of your energies within your chart, activating your intuition, and getting those magical aha moments literally every day of your life. So before I move on, any questions about head center? Who's got it defined? Does anyone know? Yeah.
I think Julia.
My colors are green and yellow in my head, yellow on the top and green below. What does that mean?
Oh, the colors are not really important. All it means is that you've got colors and you've got a defined head and defined ajna. So that other one, that yellow one, ajna, that's more for logic, for conceptualizing. So you get your creative ideas, your creative thoughts with ideas, and then you structure them. So it's all about patterns for you. But yeah, the colors don't really matter.
So I think mine's kind of floating around on its own.
Yeah, so you've got a very fluid way of thinking, you know, also not consistent thoughts, but once you get an idea, you're really good at putting it into pattern, into certain structures, conceptualizing it. It's all about logic, the ajna center. You will always, if you have a head defined, you will always have ajna defined, because without ajna, your head will just burst completely.
But mine's undefined though, isn't it?
Your head is undefined, but I'm just saying, if your head is defined,
yeah,
you have to have a defined ajna, because without that logic, your head will just pop up. You just like won't be able to process all of that information with there. And especially if you've got an open root, because root is another pressure, and that's the pressure to constantly go and do things. So if you've got an open head and open root, you're going to be under pressure to think and under pressure to do. And that's when it really becomes important to get into your alignments with your body, with your strategy, with your authority, because otherwise it's like going to be doing and thinking. Literally, that's all it's going to become about. Yeah. So in human design, basically, I mean, just like every human being is unique, so is every single human design chart. And therefore, the knowingness, that intuition is going to be different for every single person. And your specific type, I guess, of intuition is really depends what senses you are tuned to. It also depends on your authority. And I briefly mentioned authority, and we're going to dive into it a lot deeper now. So authority is the way that universe guides you, how your soul talks to you. And then also your intuition is depending on your centers, which ones are colored in, which ones are open, how aligned you are with your soul purpose, with your life purpose. And it's something that human design literally helps you to decode. So authority in human design, it's the intuitive decision-making process. It's like our compass. It's that always guides us in the next right step, what is right for us. And therefore, there's a lot of deconditioning work that is required in order to start trusting your body more, to know what is best for you, even if it makes no sense to your logical minds. So, and as I've mentioned, how is the worst question then you can possibly ask, because what it does, it just separates you from your body and separates you from your authority and from your own truth. So I'm just going to share screen again here, and we're going to talk about some authorities. We're not going to go into all of them. And guys, if you know your authorities, please can you pop it in a chart for me so that I also know if I didn't cover any. I mean, some of them. And if I didn't, then I can either answer after, or, you know, you just send me a message and I'll answer it after the call, depending on how we get on with time. So there are a number of authorities. I think there's 7 authorities in human design. The emotional authority is just over 50%. And you have an emotional authority if you've got this triangle colored in, which is your solar plexus. Now, majority of us actually are designed to, make decisions in and now. Literally, for most of us, decision is like that, split second. We know, our body knows, even though our mind gets in the way. But with emotional authority, there is no clarity in a now. They have those waves, and you get different types of waves. I'm not going to go into them now, but it's just something to be aware of. You get an emotional wave. It doesn't have to be like a wave of sadness or anger or frustration. It can be a happy wave. But while you're riding that wave, there is no clarity for you. There's no clarity in a now. You basically need to ride out that wave and be about 70 to 80% certain that this is a yes for you. There's never 100% certainty. And the way you know if it's a yes or a no is how you feel while you're riding the wave. Not what you think, but how you feel. If you're feeling excitement, even though it may feel scary, but you sense that this is like a right thing for you, then it's a yes. But if the wave is like this, and you're like, oh my God, no, it's not, it's like the worst thing I can do, then it's simply no. And it's just important really to understand here that emotions are not really meant to be analyzed or interpreted or explained. It's like, oh, I'm feeling crap again, I'm feeling sad. They're not. It's actually a chemical process that happens within your body. All you do is you're just an observer of that emotion. Once it goes away, you then make a decision. And often if you have an emotional sensor colored in, you may also have a sacral, so like a generator, if you're a generator or you're a manifesting generator. You may have a spleen, like if you're a projector or a manifester. So that's like your second authority. And if you have a emotional authority with a square, with a sacral, it means you're an emotional generator or an emotional manifesting generator. So once that emotion is away, once it's done with, your decision is in a now. Your sacral would literally pull you towards it. It's like your whole body is like, yes, I want it, or it's like, no, I don't want it, no matter what your mind tells you. Because once you don't follow the pull, that's when your mind gets on the way. And same with the spleen. If you also have spleen defined, your decision is also in a now. As soon as that emotion is finished, your spleen will softly whisper to you what is right for you and what isn't. So just a couple of tips for emotional authority: feel everything that you can feel. Envisage your emotion as like this wave and just let it ride it without any judgment, just observations. And never ever make decisions when you are activated. And remember, there is no 100% clarity. There's only about 80% clarity around yes or no. Now, the next authority I want to talk about is sacral. So that's for generators and manifesting generators. And that's pure desire driven. So, and for them, it's so important to follow that inner pull, to completely trusting your guidance, trusting that pull, trusting to what lights you up. And I actually did the whole sacral challenge about 3 months ago. And I mean, I can tell you that, guys, it was the toughest time in my life, like detoxifying my head, getting out of my head and connecting to my sacral. None of what I did made sense. I was actually, I think, in a physical, emotional, spiritual pain. But on day 3 or 4, it started to change. And I could literally felt like this laptop mindfuck, excuse me, the language, started going away. I felt so much clarity. I felt so much trust. I felt like I could finally breathe and just lean onto this something like a lot bigger than me. And I just had to just let it go and trust. It just was the incredible feeling, when you really start connecting with your authority. And for me, it's my sacral. It's like magic begins to happen in your life. So, and the thing is important for us to understand really that our job with the sacral authority is not to make something happen. It's just simply feel and notice situations for what they are. And then it all becomes about that pull, whether it's a yes or a no for you, you will feel it. Your body knows the best. And it's actually easiest thing to be a generator with sacral authority, probably the easiest authority there is, because we always respond to yes or no. And sacral communicates to you with or sound. When initially I thought I heard it, I was like, that's a bit weird. But then I remembered myself as a child, when somebody asked me, do you want this? I go, And my son does the same. And even now I still do the same. And if you're not certain about something, you just get someone to ask you a question, simple yes or no question, and your sacral will respond. And that's how you know whether it is true for you or not. So basically it's practicing yes or no question, focusing on what feels good and how you feel. Do you feel expanded or do you feel like, contracted about doing certain thing, and follow that pull. So we just got 2 more authorities. I'm going to go, and then I'm going to jump on to the next part. Spleen, I think, Suzanne, you've got a splenic authority. Yeah. So splenic authority, it's also decision in and now. Just like
can you
sacral.
move the screen up a bit? Because it's not moving, it's stuck on.
Oh, yeah. Sacral and spleen. There you go.
Thank you.
So you've got spleen when you've got this triangle defined, and it's all about that impulse. It's an older sense, and it's all about instinct, which is all about survival. It's like we're running from the bear, like something is chasing us, which is why decision is instant in and now. But unlike with the sacral authority, with sacral, you can always tap into, you can always ask the question, and it's always there to tell you yes or no. With spleen, it's there and it's gone. So there needs to be a lot of work to be done around self-trust, because when you don't follow that spleen, your mind gets on the way, and that mind doesn't wait to be invited. It's just there, and it overrules your spleen, and the logic takes over. And I actually know a few people who were burnt out, who had adrenal fatigue, because spleen is also the center for your immune system, your adrenals. And I know people who were burnt out. I mean, their kidneys were in a state. And the more they started practicing, following their authority, the splenic authority, the healthier they became, the stronger the immune system became. And now they have not a single health condition, just by being literally in and now and responding with their spleen rather than with their minds. So fear really is the favorite communication of the spleen, because that's where all of your energies of fear live, inside your spleen. You will see that there is lines, they're called gates, that come out of your spleen. And depending on which of these gates you have defined, you may have different fears. So fear of the past, fear of the future, fear of not knowing enough, fear of failing responsibility. These are some of the common fears that live in a spleen. And it's just about that intuitive awareness, about knowing, that if the fear arises, and it's one of those fears of the spleen, it's one of the things where you can feel the fear and do it anyway, because when you come out on the other side, you're going to feel freaking amazing. So yeah, just some tips for the splenic authority: make decisions in the now and don't overthink it, because your gut always knows the truth. And then the last one I'm going to talk about here is the heart and ego, which is Karen. So the secret really to your success is all in a healthy balance about being selfish. And it's about, I want this, I desire that. And you are here to express, not suppress your desires. It's basically whatever just motivates you, whatever makes you feel good, whatever you desire, because your responsibility is to teach others to express their desires and not to suppress them, because as society, we think it's selfish to want something for ourselves. And that's mindset also needs to shift, because we need what we need and we should be asking for it. And with the heart ego authority, when expressed in the highest potential, highest energy, they lead others, they guide others to express their wants and needs. So for you, it's all about being spontaneous, following your heart's desires, literally, and just don't overdo it, because remember, you don't have that sacral defined, so you still need to rest. So basically, intuition literally lets you to connect to your truths, to different potentials, to different sources of information that your logical mind would just never allow you to perceive. And the more you begin to live with your authority, the more you follow that pull, that inner guidance, the stronger that connection becomes, because it's just like any other muscle that, you just need to work and develop over time. So it always, your authority would literally always support you to know what the next right step is, and to prevent that overwhelm and this overthinking pattern and the potential to burning out. And we all experience intuition differently, and in human design, actually contains the codes to your knowingness. And depending on your chart, there are multiple ways to experience intuition. So one we already spoke about, that's the spleen, because that's all about the instincts, and it operates in fear. It's a very kind of intuitive impulse. Under the circumstances, your intuition basically is very time limited, and it's all fear driven. And I've already mentioned some of the gates. I'm not going to go through again, but this is just one way how you can be intuitive. It's more not even an intuition, it's an instinct. Like when you sense something, you can smell the rats, or you know when something is right for you or not. And that's, you can be intuitive in that way if you've got a spleen defined, or you've got certain gates that are colored in coming out of the spleen. So another way that you can experience intuition is through the openness in your chart. And the more openness you have, the more intuitive you are. And because through that openness, we absorb energies of the others, energy of the world. We don't just absorb them, but we also amplify those energies. And especially if you've got your solar plexus open, if you've got an open emotional center, it means you're picking up the emotions and feelings of the others and you amplify them. So as long as obviously you know how to keep your boundaries, because boundaries are super important, you know, when it comes to your design, as long as you know how to keep those boundaries and don't let, you don't allow to suck in emotions of others, it's really, really good. You know, it's really useful for you, especially if you're a practitioner, you're like a health advisor and you work a lot with clients, when you have that emotional center undefined, because you can really, really connect with your clients. And then another one is the actual intuition. I don't even know how else to call it, because, but that really intuition only kicks in when you begin to live in your design and you respond to the way your design, connecting with your authorities, because there are certain gates, which I will show you in a minute in the chart, that depend, that will determine how else you can experience this higher senses. So this is actually some information I took from she's one of the leading coaches in human design. She's absolutely incredible. Her name is Karen Curry Parker. I think, Suzanne, you're familiar with her. And I just wanted to incorporate it into this presentation because I find it absolutely fascinating. So I'm just going to pull up this design. And so first way is how you can experience is through clairvoyance. That's intuitive seeing. And this could be visualizing objects, words, people, auras. I know some of you see auras. And that's basically all of the senses found in your head center. So if you have a defined head, or you have this gates defined 64, 61, 63, if any of them are colored in, once you begin to really getting out of your head and living according to your authority and being more in your body, this is when you begin to experience that intuitive seeing. Maybe not ghosts, but you will see objects or lights or auras, something like that will naturally come to you. Then we have intuitive hearing, and intuitive hearing, that's something I experience a lot, especially of late, maybe the last 3 months. I mean, I can actually in my meditation, especially when it's a silent meditation, because I'm very open, I only have 2 centers defined and I've got very intuitive channels. So when I sit quietly, I will often have the voice and a conversation in my head with my business partner or with someone else, and an hour or 2 later, I would literally have exactly the same conversation, but like in physical reality. It never happened to me before. It's only through this deconditioning work that I began experiencing that. And it's pretty incredible. So your intuitive hearing is all in the channel 57. Yeah, so that's in the spleen. So if you guys have a chart, have a look if your 57 channel is defined. So in the highest expression, that's all about your intuition, because this is actually the most intuitive gates in the entire chart. And in its highest expression, that's when you really become connected to your senses. But when you are expressing it as a lower energy, that's all about the fear of the future. So how will I do this? What will happen tomorrow if I don't take? It's all of this kind of fears that arise when you start living in your head. So with a channel 34 or 57, it's called the channel of power, which signifies your ability to hear guidance and words and tones. And also gate 22. So if you guys have gate 22 colored in here, that's also all about that intuitive hearing. And some of you may have them all, some of you may not have it. But if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you're not intuitive, because we all have energies. It doesn't matter. It's just, the thing is, if it's colored in, this is something you always have. It's fixed. If it's not colored in, you just need someone to activate you, whether it's a person who's next to you or the planets that are in transit, but you have all of the energies. It's just some you experience stronger than the others. Now, another type is intuitive knowing. You know, when you just like know something, you don't even know how you know, but you do know. And this is all in a channel here, 24 and 61. So if you've got 24, 61, either full channel or just the gate, you will experience that knowingness. And also 57. So 57, 24, and 61, that's all about your knowingness. And then you also have intuitive feeling. So this is actually when you're feeling other people, you know, the feelings and emotions, especially this can really come from your solar plexus. So if you have an open solar plexus, you may just sense naturally how certain people feel. They don't even have to be with you. They can be on the other side of the world, but you can tune into the feelings. And that's if, yeah, emotional sensor or the G center open, one or the other. And then the last one I want to talk about is the intuitive smell. You know how you sometimes smell the rat? You like look at the someone and you're like, yeah, no, something is off about you. So it's all about, you know, smelling the bullshit in others and also in yourself. And that's in the gate 44. So it's the channel 44, 26. And also 44, because it also comes from the spleen, and its highest expression is when you really can sense, you've got an ability to sense something about each situation or about someone. But in a low frequency, when you express it, it's the fear of the past. It's always looking back and seeing how things didn't work out or certain things, you know, failed for you and moving them, pulling them into the future. And this is so common for many of us. So that's like the low expression of that gate. So what we really need to, I think, you know, understand here is that we all really, what we really experience in the real world is just a manifestation of our consciousness. And we all have this like logician and magician side of us. I love the way it's one of my mentors, she talks about this logician, magician. And logician really side of us, this is how we want to know answers. How will I get from A to B? How am I going to get this client? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get the money? And that's when we stuck in our heads and we make decisions from our heads, which are based on past memories, past experiences, and very predictable future, because our mind is just simply not designed to go any further than that. And then there is this magician part of us, this higher mind. And when you start kind of leaning and trusting it more and more, you can access limitless possibilities, opportunities. And, you know, you kind of like almost tap into this power and you stand there in the middle of the storm where everything is collapsing around you and you don't just give a shit because you know that whatever not serves you anymore is on its way out. All of the circumstances are on the way out. So when you begin to live according to your strategy, to your authority, and you begin to get into alignments with your truth, your higher minds, and you apply human design to your life or to your business, it can help you to improve your communication, to make better decisions in a business sense, and can really help you to figure out how you sell the best, how you market the best, how you communicate the best. But most important thing for me personally, it gives you permission to be unapologetically you. So just to wrap this up, really, the information, I mean, I shared with you, I think is quite interesting. Well, for me, it was for the 10th time, but I love talking about it and probably gave you a glimpse into what's possible when you know, live according to your strategy and authority, now that you understand a bit more, hopefully, your energy type. But all I know is that life always throws you this like curveball. And although it's great to have such awareness, but what does it actually mean like in real life, you know? Because what I found, since I don't know if some of you can resonate with me with this, but we almost have this like physical body and we've got this spiritual body. Now, I'm sure all of you probably have a spiritual practice where you meditate, whatever it is that you do. And then you meditate and your level of consciousness, your energy, your vibration is so high and you feel on top of the world. And then something triggers you, whether it's your kids or whether the driver that cuts you off and you drop right back down. So it's like you're making a step forward and then 10 steps back. And that's because we've got these two sides of us, and there is nothing like that's holding them together. And that's what was tripping me for so long. I was like, well, how can I maintain that state of energy, that state of vibration? And that's the energetic alignments. This is something that human design helps you to bridge, those two sides of you. And how you grow your business, you know, how you navigate through your life, the next big thing you really want to bring into your life, all comes to anchoring into your intuition, anchoring into your purpose alignment, and really trusting that, you know, you can figure out what's true for yourself and then take the most aligned action from that place. So if you feel the pull to go deeper into human design, to understand your energetic codes and break the patterns that no longer serve you, or apply human design to your business so that you can, you know, have more success in shorter period of time and get into that state of total alignment, then get in touch with me. I'll leave my details and we can have a chat. I hope you guys enjoy that and nobody fell asleep.
That was brilliant, Lena. Thank you. And obviously I came on your little workshop that you had a few weeks ago, and I've learned something again. That's what I mean. You can just keep going into human design again and again and again. Julia, did you want to ask your question? Because I know sometimes you need to leave at 9, so I'm happy for you to ask.
Yeah, sorry, I do have to leave in a couple
That's
of minutes,
all right.
unfortunately.
Go for it.
I didn't follow quite so easily your description of the gates, so those little numbers in the triangles. Can we learn more about them anywhere? Are they, I've looked up my charts, but it doesn't seem to sort of indicate what those little numbers mean anywhere. How do I find out a little bit more about that?
You can, you know, you can certainly look on the internet, you can Google it, but to be honest, from my experience, none of that really matters. The most important thing about human design is really getting into alignment with your strategy and your authority, because the gates, they're just an additional component, and a lot of work needs to be happening around your strategy. Are you a generator or?
Generator, yeah.
Generator. So it's all about practicing, trusting your sacral, that pull, that inner pull. And once that happens, you know, it will naturally, everything will slot in into your life. You can read information about gates on the internet.
Okay.
If you're interested, yeah.
And there was something else that was on the chart that you didn't mention at all, which was the profile.
Yeah, so profile is something really interesting. I just didn't want to add this into, because we only had 1 hour. And profile, for me personally, especially if you've got your business, that's probably the most important information, really. That's about how you make decisions, how you learn, and how you share information. And that's something I really recommend to look into. Okay,
so don't worry about the gates, but perhaps look into the profile. Thank you. Very helpful. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Julia. Anyone else want to ask questions? Karen?
I always ask questions. I learn something every time, because like Suzanne, I did the workshop with you, didn't I, Lena? And I learned quite a bit then. But tonight it sort of processed more as to why sometimes I struggle with myself, because, do you know, I really push myself to finish everything, and I'm just not a finisher, am I? So I pressure myself to finish everything. It's like, I think it was ingrained in me as a child, like you said, you know,
exactly.
Got to finish things, you've got to finish things. If you start something, finish it. And it's really not my type, is it? You know?
No, I wouldn't suggest you finish. You start a lot of things. Of course, if you want to, you know, there's no like a rule saying you can't finish.
No.
But if you feel like there is no energy, there's no, you know, that passion, especially with your heart, with your will defined, if it doesn't light you up, if it's not your heart desires, then don't beat yourself up. Find a generator, get them to finish it. If the sacral says yes, of course.
Yeah. No, it's just really interesting. I mean, yes, I do like to finish things. It's not like I leave everything undone, but I pressure myself definitely to finish things. It's a real thing. You know, I even call myself a finisher.
Yeah, well, that's got to change, Karen.
Which is hilarious.
I'm a seeker for desires or something, you know. It's all about desire for you, all about desire, you know, and as a manifestor, you've got to follow the desire, because if that's what your heart wants, that's what you've got to initiate. Just remember to inform before initiating. Or
Oh, I
before
do. Yeah, I do inform. I definitely do.
Me too.
I'm definitely an informer.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah.
not even allowed to start as a projector.
No, am I, right? You know how painful
That's
that
all right.
is
I'll
for me.
start it. You can carry it on. It's all right.
And we'll get someone else to finish it. I
Get
can
someone
do a
else to
little
finish
bit.
it. Yeah.
Hilarious.
So it all works out. Yeah. So no, it's fascinating, and you know, it really interests me because it makes perfect sense when you talk about heart's desire. Yeah, it's always about my heart. You know, always, and when my head takes over, it's never quite right. So I just need to keep trusting.
Exactly. And that's the thing, you know, and that's what sometimes for me, that was the scariest, right? Because my sacral is like, go do this. I'm like, how? And I'm like, not my house. And you just do it, you know, and somehow it always works out. And it's just the trusting, and you practice. And sometimes, of course, you make a silly decision. It's like a muscle, right? You've got to train it.
Exactly.
But the more you trust it, the more you build this connection, the easier it becomes. And then you just get out of that head, because when we get stuck in our heads, we actually become who we are not. And it takes so much more energy to be who we're not than who we are. So it frees up a lot of energy that you can then use for creativity in your business, whatever it is.
Yeah, no,
Is that when you go into your not self?
That's when you go into your not self.
Yeah, see, mine's bitterness. That's not pretty.
Well, yeah, it's anger, it's bitterness, disappointments, you know, frustration.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And when I'm working with clients, I go into a flow, and it becomes easier, you know, when I do that. And that's what I do with clients. I flow, and it works, you know. So I don't overthink things. I just let it come, and words just come, and you just let it flow, and it works. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Lena.
It's a pleasure.
Hey?
Yeah, thank you for that. It was so interesting.
Pleasure.
I had a reading from a friend of ours, Sana, not long ago, and it was so interesting about what you were saying about the sacral, because that's my main center, and I do go and I've always done it my whole life. My friends are like, "Why do you have to do that when you're eating all the time?" But everything, it's just constantly making those noises, and I wasn't really aware of it. And I'm like, "Oh God, yeah, I do that all the time." And on the right angle, cross of penetration as well.
Okay. Yeah. So what's your profile?
For alchemist generator.
No, the profile. So just little numbers.
Oh, on here. I've dropped them into the Telegraph group. Which numbers do you need to know?
So let me just share my screen, and hold on, do I have this? Oh no, I probably won't have it. It's right at the top, you know, where you see the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Suns, and there's big numbers and there's little numbers.
Yeah, it's 53.5.
And another one?
On the other side, it's 57.3.
Okay, so you're a 5'3". Yeah, I mean 3'5", same as me. So yeah, it's all about experimenting. So it's the way we really learn, it's all through experimental. And it's like you experiment, you tweak, it doesn't work. You experiment, it tweaks, it works. You go and you share it. You have to share your message, and then after you share it, you go and it's probably it's actually called the most challenging profile there is, because it's nothing really straightforward. It's always about experimenting and tweaking and sharing, and it's just like constant pattern. Yeah, it's called Martyr Heretic. It's like quite a dramatic name, really.
I like that. Yeah, a lot about truth as well, and when you were talking about the channels as well. Like the intuition, smelling bullshit on people, seeing straight to the truth of things, all of those are open. So it makes a lot of sense.
Wow, brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. It was really interesting.
It's a pleasure.
So some of the intuitive aspects you were talking about, I was looking at the numbers. So some of those sentences for me are defined, so it means they're coloured in, and somewhat open. So the intuitive aspects are the more the open ones that are going to be functioning well. Is that what you mean? Where it's not coloured in?
It depends, once again, who you're with and the planets. So, you know, it depends whose energy you're absorbing, really. because remember, you're absorbing and you're amplifying them. So let's say if you've got an open emotional sensor and you were someone who's like freaking angry, you know, you absorb that anger and you amplify, and you're going to be double as angry. So it really, really depends. And it's also about self-awareness, you know, understanding which emotions are yours. Once again, it all comes to strategy and to authority. You know, that's one human design. They're like the gates, all of the soul purpose, life purpose, the energies. I mean, they're very fascinating, you know, but at the end of the day, if you don't follow your strategy authority, none of this is really with it.
I've had to learn that about what's mine and what belongs to other people. And I teach that as well, because it was such a revelation to me, because I would absorb everybody's stuff, not knowing then that I was a projector, and then mixing it up with things that felt personal. And, you know, over the years and obviously the course of work that I've followed, I realized that, you know, that doesn't belong to me, that's theirs. And actually I can show up to that or not, or I've learned to zoom out and observe and look at the bigger picture and not plot my kind of emotions into the party as well and join in. It's more of a like, oh, okay, I can see that. Oh, that's interesting. I've taken that tack on it. But that took me years to work that out. You know, I'd pick up everybody's stuff and take it on, take it home, try it on, mix it around a little bit, give it back, before I learned to just step back and well,
in traditional human design, they say it takes 7 years to decondition. And that's why, you know, like human design is amazing, obviously tool, but I mean, I use like energetic alignment and actual identity hacking. That's what I find has been most powerful in order to speed up the deconditioning work.
I think I've known about it a few years, more so in the last couple of years. And it's right, like learning about waiting for the invite was a big revelation to me, because it was like I would either, you know, I'd think, right, well, I can do that, and I'd get impatient to think, right, let's just get on with it, and then be in something thinking, was I invited here? Did I invite myself? Did they really want me here? I knew I could do it, but actually no one asked. My daughter says that to me all the time. She laughs about it now. It's like a standing joke. She'll just go, yeah, no one asked, Mum. Again. So now when I get an invite and my energy is invited in, it feels much more open. But now I'm having to learn not to say yes to everything, of course.
Yes, and we spoke about it, didn't we?
Yeah, because then I'm just giving my energy away, and it's not right for me. So it's those small steps of realizing where, and I can work in real bursts of energy, and if I don't rest, I hit burnout. And I've done that again and again and again and again and again, and now I'm starting to get it. But it is really interesting. You know, if any of you guys haven't looked into this more, it's fascinating just to unpick little aspects of, you know, learning your energy type. It's an incredible system. It's so complex. You've done brilliantly to learn as much as you have.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been like obsessed with it, and you know, I've had mentors and coaches, and so I mean, I went full on into it. So it's
a real passion. You can see it. It's rolling. It's great.
And it's, as I said, you know, it's not just learning it; it's actually using it. You know, and that's where a lot of work really happens. Is how do you apply it? What does it mean to my life? What does it mean to my business? Because I know my strategy is way to respond, but how do I actually make it practical? You know, and that's where the real work.
Yeah. Really how do I earn money from that? Yeah. Still got to pay for that. That's like me sometimes. Like, well, I've still got to pay for a roof over my head, and I'm sitting there waiting for the invite. It's like, okay, yeah. Are we going to pay the bills? But it's that trust, isn't it? Anyone else? No, we all good.
Gonna take a quick photo of you guys and me, obviously. Hold on. There we go. Wait, I'm just going to remove the sink from the background. Fab, thank you.
I'll send you the recording as well, of course. And so there's a few other people that wanted it too, so that's good. And we keep all the recordings between us. If anyone missed it, feel free to obviously share your details in the Telegram group, Lena, so that they're not just on here, but they're actually, you know, and anything you've got coming up for this next week, you can use that Telegram group as, you know, advertising what you're doing. And after that week's up, we start advertising the next person in 2 weeks, if that makes sense. So that's kind of your space to kind of share your things and people to ask questions and stuff like that of what
Okay.
we've done tonight. All right. It's
Cool.
your moment. Come on down. It's like a game show, isn't it? So yeah, thanks again, everybody, for coming. Who have we got lined up? Is it Louise or
No, Gabrielle next.
Gabrielle next? And remind me what she's doing. Do you remember?
She's doing sensitivities in children, I believe.
Okay.
It's to do with children.
Sensitivities as in intuitive, emotional sensitivities.
I think so, how to deal with that sort of thing. I think that was what it was about off the top of my head.
It's in the chat anyway on the group.
Yeah.
And after that, we've got
And then we've got Louise,
Sarah.
yeah, with the oils.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fascinating as ever. I think we've covered everything. Thanks everybody for coming. And I'll see you in the group. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.